Hello, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on the Pendulum, coming to you live on Lagos Television. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. As we speak today, Nigeria is currently battling multidimensional security challenges in different parts of the country. Although the current administration, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is doing its best to play its constitutional role of protecting the lives of and properties of Nigerians, but a lot still needs to be done if indeed Nigerians want to start sleeping with their two eyes closed. Our discussion this afternoon is going to center on that loud call for the creation of state police. You will also recall that Mr. President equally met with members of the National Assembly recently, and he did appeal that members of the National Assembly should consider amending the 1999 Constitution to accommodate the creation of state police. So if indeed we want to create state policing in the country, how should the structure be? What about the funding? And what are the checks and balances that should be put in place for us to avoid the political class misusing the creation of state police to intimidate their political opponents? That will be the discussion on the program this afternoon. But we'll quickly go on a short break now to bring you some of the trending news in the polity. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on the Pendulum on Lagos Television. Again, our topic of discussion this afternoon is the call for the creation of state police. And my guest this afternoon was the former commissioner of police, and he actually served in Benue and Lagos State as the commissioner of police. It is my pleasure to welcome to the Pendulum this afternoon, Compo Fatai Owosheni, retired. It's a pleasure to have you. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? All right. We seem to be having problem with the network. Hopefully, as soon as we are able to fix the network, then I'll connect with my guest this afternoon. Of course, he served at different formations of the Nigerian police. And again, he was the commissioner of police at one time or the other in Benue and Lagos State. Compo Fatai Owosheni, retired, is my guest this afternoon. And together we'll be looking at the justification for that call for the creation of state police in the country. So how do we structure the state policing system in such a way that it will not be prone to abuse by the political class? What about the funding? Even as we speak presently, the federal police is not adequately funded. And you see some policemen and you're wondering if indeed these particular policemen or policemen are indeed representing the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So these are some of the factors and issues that we might need to consider before our members of the National Assembly would actually amend the 1999 Constitution to accommodate the creation of state policing. Again, Nigeria is faced with different kind of security challenges in different parts of the world, banditry, kidnapping, and the government of the day at the center is worried, and that was why Mr. President passionately appealed to members of the National Assembly to please tinker with the 1999 Constitution to accommodate the creation of state police. We're still having problem with the network. Hopefully, Compo Fatai Owosheni will connect with us for us to have that conversation on the creation of state police. We'll take another short break at this moment. We'll be right back on the program.
The state police is the security that any state has to protect the citizens from insecurity, theft, burglary, insecurity generally.
If the federal government can support it and support the idea, it's a welcome development.
The way it's being controlled by the federal government, they still use it for their own selfish gain. Don't talk about when it comes to the states. So a lot of people that have access to it want to do whatever they like with it. So, but personally, I don't think whether federal government is controlling it, whether state government is controlling it, I really don't think it's to make any much difference.
If our state police at least they were more effective to oversee people security and to protect interests.
The program is still the Pendulum live on Lagos Television. We sincerely do apologize for that glitch in transmission. We are back now and better, and I have online joining us via Zoom this afternoon a former commissioner of police. He had served at one time or the other in Benue State as well as Lagos State here. It is my pleasure to welcome to the Pendulum once again, Compo Fatai Owosheni, retired. It's a pleasure to have you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling me in.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, the security challenges facing Nigeria is so complex at the moment, and the call for the creation of state police is so loud. I just want to ask you, is there any justification for the creation of this state policing system? Because some are in support and some are against the creation of state policing system in Nigeria.
Let me start by saying that it is not a matter of whether there is justification or no justification now. The clamor is such that it cannot be resisted at this moment. And I must tell you that the trajectory of policing in Nigeria is such that follows the developmental, constitutional and political trajectories of this country. because at different point in time, even from the pre-colonial times up till when we gain independence, and of course the first, second republic and the present time, it has always been an issue because of the peculiar nature and the special nature of the police. So it has always been a subject as to what kind of policing arrangement should we have in the country. Pre-colonial times, our forefathers, our fathers, were policing themselves in such a way that traditional methods were used. Then the colonial people came and set up the multi-layers ways of policing. And that is why you have the different constabularies that were created to serve the purpose of the colonial masters, the Royal Niger, whatever, up till a point in time that we now have, the Southern Police Force, the Northern Police Elements, the Native Authority Police, the local government police. So it evolved like that, such that at every point in time when there was constitutional discussion, the police has always been one of the topics that were discussed. And it went up to 1957 when the minority grouped up to say that the policing arrangement wasn't serving their purpose. And that was why they had that 1957 Minority Commission, they called the Willing Commission, that made some development with regards to how we should be policed. And, after independence, at every constitutional gathering, police will always be an issue. Then we have all those constitutions up till even the First Republic, when people were clamoring for this. And that also, made the government then to ask that officers of certain ranks, up to Deputy Superintendent of Police, should be posted to their state of origin to go and serve. So it is not a new thing at all. So as the nation develops, we will always be having these issues, not until when we are able to solve the trust issue in governance, the trust deficit in governance, not until we are able to take the rule of law as sacrosanct. Because for any police arrangements you want to have, if the rule of law is not sacrosanct, we will always have this problem. And that is why police has always been the main topic. It has always been that institution that is, battered by everyone. So we must have what it takes, the groundwork, the foundation for it, for us to start. But at this moment in time, that the President of the Federal Republic has said, it is another time to look at this issue. It is the President's directive. All our governors are clamoring for it. Nigerians are clamoring for it. So we can re-examine it. But I would say that this is not the first time we are going through this. It's just that Nigeria and Nigerians, we don't follow what they call institutional memory, which is the key principle of best practices.
Okay, if that is the reality of our time, because of what you've just narrated to us now, how then should we structure it in a way that it will promote efficiency so that some of those lapses that we are currently seeing in the federal policing system would not repeat itself?
It is not the federal policing system that has problem. It is the way the police is handled by our leaders. If you have state police, have community local government police, if the basic thing, that is, the foundation is not laid, which is the rule of law, and proper funding, you will not be able to solve the problem, because it's not as if it's the same federal police that were performing, efficiently, fantastically well in those days, that has now been, balkanized, that has been more or less decimated. So it's not about it's not about that it is centrally controlled. It's about having that basic foundation, and the basic foundation for a good policing system is to follow the tenets of the rule of law and to have good governance and of course proper funding for the police.
Okay, before we dwell more on the issue of proper funding and the rule of law, would you say that some of the problems plaguing the Nigerian police as presently structured was the long years of military rule?
I won't say that because even when we had military rules, yes, we ruled by decree, and the police should even be insulated. There was a time that a discussion was ongoing that is police for the people or for the government. So yes, partly people have said long years of military rule, but you even find out that some instances people would condemn the military rule. What matters, like I said, is good governance and rule of law. If you compare our political trajectory and the long years of military rule, yes, all of us believe that, the work democracy is better than the rule of law. But we also find out that in our democracy, we have redefined democracy in this country. We say that democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people.
Yeah.
We have a democracy that is like you had pick people that rule. A democracy that if you follow from the trajectory from the First Republic, we keep on having voters' apathy. And you find out that you have a population of about 30 million in the state. And you will find out that the votes that brought in whoever that is the leader as the governor is not even up to 1 million. That is not democracy. So all these things combined together, yes, military rule partly, and the fact that even in our democracy, the rule of law that's supposed to be sacrosanct, we don't follow it to the extent that you will even wonder whether we are running a democratic government or we are running a military government, because the way that we are running the country now, you cannot clearly say that we are running a democracy. Some of the leaders we have even behave worse than the military rulers.
Okay, I'm happy you said that some of the leaders that we have currently behave worse even than the military men that we have in those days. But there are fears being expressed in different quarters that eventually, if the constitution is amended to accommodate the creation of state policing system, the political class have every tendency to abuse the creation of state police, especially governors, who will be the one funding the policing system. What do you have to say to this?
You see, policing and security are very expensive ventures. At present, is a joint funding. The federal government, the state is just like the president has said. The president has, pleaded with the National Assembly to look at it. One, we believe that some of the key issues that they will look at when debating this in the National Assembly is this issue of funding and the recruitment into whatever the state police is going to be like. And the present Inspector General of Police, have taken cue from the president's directive, a right step in the right direction by putting people together to work towards what the framework is going to be. And when you look at it, one of the major issues that we first consider is, like I said, how do we make rule of law and good governance sacrosanct in our polity? Then you now have to look at, are we talking about indigenous policing? That is indigenizing the police personnel. Is it about the personnel or about the control or who has authority over the police? Because we have been mixing two things together. If you're talking of command and control of the police, it's a different thing from the personnel, the police personnel that do the work. Everything that we've been mouthing is that, oh, we want police that we know, the community very well, which we more or less still have. So that is why when people are defining this state police, they need to properly define it and situate it very well. Are we asking for state police just on the basis of who controls, who has the authority, who wants to have police at its whims and caprices? Or are we talking of a state police that you want people that know the community very well to police the society? So to me, people that have been clamoring for this they don't even understand what we're talking about. I had mentioned before in another forum, we fought for America, UK, and whatever. We are talking of two different things. A country that is put up centripetally and the one that is put up centrifugally. That is number one. You are also talking of countries where you have, it is multi-ethnic, multilingual, multi-religious. Some of those countries don't have this. Most of those countries are monoethnic, monolingual. The rule of law is sacrosanct in those places. And when you have a system like we have, that you have so many ethnic groups, so many languages, and of course, we use all these fault lines, religion as well, to cause problems. Depending on who it suits, you will have a problem, even when you have state police. I want to think that Taraba State is one of the states in this country that has more than 100 ethnic groups. You can Google it. So when you have a state police in a place like Taraba State, that you have different ethnic groups, different religion, different language, how do you put this together? And that is the essence of having a kind of force that will bind everybody together in a way that my ethnic group or my own tribal group or my religious group or my language group will not come and say that, they have undermined me. That is, so the struggle that we are struggling with the federal police, we still probably need to face it with the state police. And we need to, think through it very well, put a proper foundation, like the president has said, that the National Assembly should discuss it, like the Inspector General of Police has kickstarted by putting up a committee. So these are issues that need to be properly addressed.
So if indeed we want state police to be created, then we might need to do a very thorough job so that we won't have a repeat of the challenges that we are facing presently in terms of structure and control. Am I correct? Extensive
job. And I have also said that whether you have state police or whatever, what works mostly in modern times is a whole society approach to policing. You have to have, because immediately you have state police, they become state apparatus. You need to incorporate the non-state apparatus. And that is what makes policing and security to be effective. And who are those non-state apparatus? You have the different vigilante groups, like in Yoruba land, we have the Onyogbele and all those things. It is the kind of system that operates in those countries we mentioned. In the United States of America, the campus security unit is properly integrated into their policing system. The security guards in malls are properly integrated into their policing system. Even the community itself. That is why when you see an old woman peeping from her window. If anything happens, she's calling the police.
Yeah.
That is what they call a whole society policing. It is not state policing that they are doing in those countries. It's a whole society where the state actors and non-state actors, have a handshake, join together to solve the problem. And of course, because the rule of law has a very strong foundation in those countries, the trust deficit to an extent has been, breached in those countries. And of course, everyone knows his or her civic right. Unlike here, where we have lost everything, the value system has been lost completely. Nobody believes that he should obey the law. A situation where you have a brother or uncle or a sister who will call you to say, Egon, I just, drive against traffic and your boys are on the road, and I give them phone to speak with them. In those countries, people won't do that. They will do the right thing. Here, we want to do the wrong thing and want to justify the wrong thing. We want to look for a family member who is wearing uniform to use that person to justify what we are doing that is wrong.
All right. I'm sure we still have a long way to go. We must thank you very much for your time. Kompo Fatai Osheni, retired Commissioner of Police. He had served in Benue and Lagos State at one time or the other, for sharing your experience with us on the creation of state police this afternoon. We thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, we'll take another quick break on the program. When we come back, we'll be looking at other issues surrounding the creation of state police before we call it a day on the show today.
Not succeed in isolation from communities with power. Insist on full and practical implementation of community policing across all command and formation. Commissioners of police must prioritize sustained engagement with traditional institutions, community leaders, youth groups, civil society, and the youth in general. Security is a shared responsibility, and partnership is our greatest force multiplier. The police force must remain the lead agency in internal security management of our nation, and preserving as well as strengthening this primacy is a responsibility all pursued with clarity of purpose.
That was the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunjidisu, also supporting the creation of state police as being clamored by Mr. President, of course, who had earlier called on members of the National Assembly to amend the 1999 Constitution to accommodate the creation of state police. That's the show this week. We thank you very much for watching The Pendulum. We'll be back again at 3 p.m. next Thursday to discuss another issue in the polity. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. Thanks for watching the show.